At my son's funeral a message came. I'm alive. Trust no one but me. What happened next? The chapel was overly quiet, except for that dull echo of muffled sobs. They were there for Timmy, my bright-eyed boy who should have been chasing butterflies instead of lying in a casket, cold and still. Clutches of sorrow hung heavy in the air, thick like fog. I fought back tears, my stomach twisting into knots as I glanced at faces glistening with shared pain. Then, out of that silence, the impossible happened. A phone buzzed, vibrating like an earthquake across the polished wood of the pew. When I glanced at it, shock ripped through me. It was a message from Timmy's phone. I'm alive. Trust no one but me. The words glared from the screen, pulsating with a life of their own. My mind raced. How? He'd been gone for weeks. Friends perched awkwardly in their seats, eyes wide with disbelief. Murmurs spread like wildfire through the crowd. That can't be real. Someone gasped. Another voice responded, trembling, it must be a joke. But my heart was screaming, the painful truth gnawing at me. It didn't feel like a joke, that I could hardly breathe, my chest tight with panic. What could this mean? Had he been taken from us, and still had the strength to reach out? Faces had turned toward me, concern mixed with confusion. I felt their eyes digging into my soul, as if demanding answers I didn't have. The florist's arrangement spilled brightly against the dark wood, contrasting the grim reality of that moment. Vibrant yellows and reds flickered like flames of hope, yet the dread in my gut snuffed it out. Then it hit me like a freight train. If he was alive, where was he now? Who could we trust? What kind of monsters prowled the shadows, robbing mere mortals of their loved ones? This wasn't just a tragedy. It was twisting into a sinister puzzle, deeper and more tangled with every thought. I felt a surge of adrenaline coursing through my veins, mingled with fear and fierce protectiveness. Around me, people were whispering, glancing nervously towards the exit. Get the police, someone urged. What if this is dangerous? The air buzzed with a nervous energy. The heaviness hung like an unwanted guest. And as I stood in shock, my head spun from the sheer horror of it all. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Back at the front of the chapel, my hands trembled, gripping the back of the bench as I fought the urge to bolt from the room. Could I trust anyone? Questions spiraled in my mind as I glanced at the billowing clouds outside, mirroring my inner turmoil. A flicker of movement at the back caught my eye. My heart raced. Was it just my imagination? Or could I see a figure lurking in the shadows? The sight sent icy chills racing down my spine. What if Timmy had crossed into something far darker? What secrets were hidden behind the curtain of this tragedy? The air thickened with tension as all eyes turned to me again, waiting for my next move. I was standing at the edge of a precipice, the unknown stretching out before me like an endless abyss. I needed answers. I needed to figure out what was real. But the more I searched, the more I felt the shadows creeping closer. Panic surged through me as I tore my gaze from the shadows and faced the anxious crowd. The hush had turned electric, every whisper clashing with the thrumming of my heart. How could I even begin to process the message? Was it Timmy trying to tell me something? Or had someone manipulated his phone to play cruel mind games? My mind raced in spirals, a hawk beneath a smothering blanket of clouds. Suddenly, a voice I recognized broke through the murmurs. It was Mrs. Collins, Timmy's teacher, her fingers trembling as they hovered above her phone. I think I should call the police, she declared, her voice uncertain but edged with urgency. What if this is a trap? I blurted, my voice hoarse and shaky, but their expressions were that of disbelief masked with concern. What if they know we're onto them? Who? Who do you mean? My friend Marcy asked, her brows knit in confusion. I don't know, I groaned, helplessness washing over me. But if he's alive, if someone's out there playing with our hearts, what if they want to keep him away from us? The chapel door creaked open and my stomach dropped. All heads turned to see who entered, but I caught a glimpse of a shadow slipping back outside. just as soon as a tall figure emerged. A shiver traced my spine. The air was rife with tension. Something was about to explode, and I felt it building within the walls, like a storm ready to break. "Hey, wait!" I called out, but the figure was already gone. I stumbled down the aisle, my heart hammering in my chest, pulling me toward the exit. Panic surged as I flung open the heavy door. Outside, daylight spilled over the gravel, almost blinding. And then nothing. An empty parking lot stared back at me, the wind whipping around me like angry spirits. Where had they gone? Moving quickly, I scanned the area, but there was no sign of the figure. I fought back the rising tide of despair, my mind whirling. Did Timmy's message have anything to do with this? "Mom!" Marcy's voice broke into my thoughts. "You can't just go running out there. What if it's dangerous?" I turned ready to argue when I noticed something on the ground. A small crumpled paper lay half buried beneath a stone. Kneeling down, I reached for it, my hands shaking as I unfolded it. The handwriting was erratic, frantic. "Trust no one, not even me." There coming a wave of nausea rolled through me, and I dropped the note like it was fire. How could my boy be caught in something so dark? I looked around at the concerned faces in the doorway framed by the chapel's arch. They didn't know what was happening, but I could feel the veil of unease settling over us like a dark mantle. "Panic won't help," Mrs. Collins urged, her gaze darting around. "We need to get to the police." She was right. But just as I turned back toward the chapel, a thought gripped me. What if the police were part of it? My chest tightened with dread. What if they were the ones working against us? Clenching my fists, I took a deep breath. I had to figure out who or what I could truly trust. As we huddled together, desperation hung heavy in the air. Uncertainty clawed at my throat. Just how deep did this rabbit hole go? I needed to break through the lies, and soon. The position I found myself in brought me to a precipice I never wanted to face. But it was time to uncover the truth. And as if in agreement, my phone buzzed again. Another message lighting up the screen. I snatched it up, heart racing faster than before. "Don't go to the police." My fingers trembled over the glow of the screen. Who sent that? What should I do next? The shadows were closing in, and I felt like I was inching closer to a dark truth that might turn my entire world inside out. But something within me whispered I had to move forward, even if it led to a place I wasn't sure I wanted to go. I hesitated for a split second, the weight of the words pressing down on me. My heart pounded in my ears, drowning out the voices of concern around me. Mrs. Collins was still trying to persuade the others to call the police, but each pulse of fear drove me deeper into my own thoughts. Who could I trust? I glanced back at the others, confusion etched on their faces. Marcy's wide eyes searched mine, desperate for reassurance, but all I felt was a mounting dread. This felt like a game, a cruel, twisted game they were playing with my family. I was not about to let them win. "Let us get out of here," I urged, my voice shaky but determined. "We need to find Timmy. We can't waste any more time." "What do you mean? Go where?" Mrs. Collins asked, her brow furrowed. "We need help. The police can know." I interrupted, raising my voice. "What if they're the reason Timmy's in danger? We can't risk it." Marcy's lip trembled, and I could see the fear stark in her features. "So what do we do?" The shadow from the doorway seemed to loom over us, growing with every fleeting second. My eyes scanned the parking lot again, searching for any hint, any clue. A flicker of movement drew my attention to the edge of the woods bordering the chapel. "Follow me," I said, my voice low and resolute. Without waiting for them to respond, I turned and started walking toward the tree-line. The chill from the wind sent shivers down my spine, but I didn't let it deter me. Marcy hurriedly caught up, glancing back nervously at the group as I pushed through the underbrush. The bark of the trees stood tall and unyielding, as if trying to keep secrets hidden just out of reach. "What if something's out there?" she whispered, but the raw intensity in my gut told me we had to push through. As we delved deeper into the woods, I felt the ground shift beneath my feet, crunching twigs and leaves echoing in the heavy silence. The thick canopy swallowed what little light remained. Shadows danced around us, whispering things I dared not voice. The air was tense and my breath came quicker. Every rustle felt like a warning. Every snapped branch sounded like a scream. I never felt so alive with fear, but I was determined to find whatever truth awaited us. Just then my phone buzzed again in my pocket, sending a bolt of anxiety through me. What now? I murmured, pulling it out. The screen lit up, revealing another message. Get closer to the truth. I'll show you. The shed. I frowned. The shed? What shed? I glanced at Marcy, who looked equally disoriented. Did you hear that? What does it mean? I don't know. I replied, anxiety creeping back into my voice. But it means we can't stop now. Together we forged ahead, my muscles tight with nerves, only to stumble upon a structure half buried in foliage. The door of the shed hung slightly ajar, creaking ominously in the wind. I exchanged a glance with Marcy, both of us silently questioning whether our instincts led us right or left us vulnerable. Stepping inside, the air grew thick with dust. My heart hammered as I surveyed the interior, littered with old tools and remnants of things long forgotten. And then it caught my eye in the far corner a familiar backpack. Timmy's backpack. I rushed forward, trembling hands reaching out to touch its frayed edges, memories flooding back. Where was he? Suddenly a noise echoed outside. My breath caught, the tiny hairs on the back of my neck standing up. Someone was coming. Get back. I whispered urgently to Marcy as we crouched behind a shelf. Time slowed as the door creaked open once more, and a figure stepped inside, shrouded in shadow. My heart plummeted. Who was it? And what did they want with us? As the figure moved toward me, panic gripped my throat. I could feel the dark truth closing in. Secrets waiting to be uncovered. But this time I had to confront them head-on. Just then the figure turned, and I caught a glimpse of a face I never expected to see again. Was it Timmy? Was he really alive? This only deepened the mystery because it wasn't Timmy. The figure leaned closer, and the suffocating fear wrapped around me like a noose. What had I just stepped into? The figure moved into the dim light, and the shadows receded ever so slightly, revealing a face full of familiar lines and anguish. My breath escaped in a choked gasp. It was Mr. Jensen, the caretaker of the old park a few miles from our neighborhood. What are you doing here? I stammered, fear twisting my gut into knots. He didn't have any business lurking around in a place like this. His eyes darted nervously, and I could sense the desperation radiating off him. I didn't think I'd find you two here, he muttered, his voice trembling. You're not safe. You have to leave. Marcy grabbed my arm tightly, her grip like a vice. Leave? Why? What do you want with us? Timmy. Mr. Jensen paused, looking over his shoulder, paranoia flashing across his face. You don't understand. There are people who the sudden sound of footsteps outside cut him off. Our eyes locked and a cold wave of terror washed over me. We remained frozen in place, holding our breaths. Is someone in there? A deeper voice boomed from outside, the tone menacing and urgent. Go. Now. Mr. Jensen hissed, urging us to the far corner of the shed. I barely had time to process what was happening. Heart racing, I pulled Marcy along with me, crouching low as we squeezed behind a pile of rotten wood. The air felt heavier here, the scent musty and stale, and it did nothing to mask the panic that roiled in my chest. Who is there? The voice barked again, louder this time, an impending threat thick in the air. Hide! I mouthed to Marcy, who nodded, eyes wide with fear. Mr. Jensen took a step toward the door. I'll handle this. Just stay quiet, don't make a sound. Don't go out there. I urged, but my voice was a whisper. Ignoring me, he pushed the door further open, stepping into the light. I'm here. Just come and get me, he called, his face strained, surrendering to whatever was outside. A silence fell over us, and I felt as if the entire world held its breath. I could see the outline of Mr. Jensen's frame, backlit by the fading light, and for a moment, I thought he might just walk back in, leaving us untouched. But then a figure loomed outside the shed, cloaked in darkness. The glint of a knife caught the faint light, and my pulse raced. Where is the boy? The stranger demanded, leaning against the shed with an air of menace that seemed to seep into the very walls. The hairs pricked at the back of my neck. This was not just a confrontation. This was something darker, something sinister. It all somehow connected back to Timmy. I can't help you. I don't know where he is. Mr. Jensen's voice cracked, desperation lacing his words. I felt Marcy's breathing hitch beside me. I couldn't let them take Mr. Jensen. I had to act, but how? Suddenly, the door swung open wider, and without thinking my body surged forward. I was met with the sight of Mr. Jensen struggling with the stranger, who effortlessly pushed him against the wall. "Get back!" I shouted, adrenaline pulsing through me. Marcy clamped her hand over my mouth, but my instincts took over. I lunged for the stranger, who had turned to me with a cruel smile, and I instinctively kicked at his shin. Everyone froze. "You shouldn't have done that." His voice dripped with malice as he reached for me. Without thinking, I stumbled backward, colliding with the shelf and sending a cascade of old tools to the floor. The noise rang out like a shattered glass, marking our hiding place. Then came the footsteps, loud and heavy, thundering toward the shed. "Get over here!" the stranger roared, lunging for me. In that instant, I realized that the game was more dangerous than I'd imagined. This was life and death, and I had just stepped deeper into a darkness I was not prepared for. "What have you gotten into, Timmy?" I breathed as the chaos unfolded around us, and a flicker of a plan ignited in my mind. But was it too late to save him? As I braced for the storm that was about to break loose, a sudden thought hit me. What if trusting Mr. Jensen had been a mistake? And if I had been drawn deeper into this web of betrayal, who else was involved? The shed shook from a muffled explosion outside. Something had gone wrong. And right then the darkness felt like it was closing in. Would we be able to fight our way out? Or was this where everything would come to an end? My heart pounded in my chest like a drum as the door splintered open further. A cold wind swept through the shed, sending chills through my spine. The stranger was now only a few feet away, eyes glinting with malice. "You think you can run? You think you can hide?" His voice rumbled like thunder, deep and low, casting an uneasy echo in the tight space. "Marcy!" I hissed, trying to pull her close, but her eyes were glued to the nightmare before us. I had to think. There had to be a way to get out of this alive. Glancing to my left, I spotted an old wrench, its metal battered but still sturdy. Maybe it could help turn the tide in our favor. "Mr. Jensen, what do we do?" My voice trembled with urgency, but he didn't answer. Instead, he was locked into a wrestling match with the stranger, both of them teetering dangerously close to the edge of the open door. "Let him go," I shouted, gaining a smidgen of courage. I charged forward, wrench in hand, swinging it wildly. The stranger's head snapped towards me, surprise flashing across his features for just a heartbeat. "Foolish kids," he sneered, but I could see the hesitation flicker beneath his bravado. It was the opening I needed. In one swift motion, I swung the wrench, aimed squarely at his knees. The impact was like hitting a tree trunk, jarring my hands, but it made him stagger back. "Opportunity! Now!" I shouted to Marcy, and we surged forward, ducking past the chaos outside. The two adults were momentarily distracted, and we took our chance. We bolted out of the shed like a pair of frightened birds escaping a cage, but safety was elusive. The moment we cleared the door, panic struck. The yard was consumed by darkness, the night buzzing with unending threats. I looked around frantically, searching for a place to hide. "Over there." Marcy pointed to a thick cluster of bushes at the edge of the yard. We ran, hearts racing, but the heavy footsteps behind us grew louder. I could hear the stranger cursing, but I couldn't look back. I pushed Marcy, urging her to move faster. The prick of thorns scratched at my arms as we dove into the underbrush, forcing ourselves low. The world outside grew distant, muffled sounds of shouting and crashing echoing like an off-key symphony, filling the void around us. We couldn't let them find us. We couldn't be taken. "Do you think we've lost them?" Marcy whispered, barely a breath. I shook my head, catching my own ragged breath. "I don't know. Not yet." The silence stretched, thickening like a fog. After what felt like an eternity, I risked a glance through the branches. Footsteps echoed closer, urgency driving their rhythm. "Where are those brats?" The stranger's voice prowled through the dark, each word dripping with venom. Suddenly a shout rang out, "Jensen! You'll pay for this!" It was a new voice, equally sinister but layered with menace plus a hint of laughter, sending fresh terror through me. What had Mr. Jensen gotten us into? Were we trapped in a game we didn't understand? "Why don't we just find Timmy ourselves?" the stranger suggested, his tone electric with malice. I felt Marcy's grip tighten, fear coursing through her. They knew about Timmy. They were after him. What if I began, but the thought fizzled out. I wouldn't let fear take control. A plan. I needed a plan. If they were coming for Timmy, maybe we could use it to our advantage. Marcy, we have to get to Timmy. He could be in real danger. We need to find him first, I fervently whispered, my mind racing. The heavy stomps passed, but uncertainty lingered heavily in the air. It was clear we were at a crossroads. Just as I was about to formulate a strategy, the ground beneath us trembled slightly. I turned towards Marcy, and our eyes synchronized. Either we stayed hidden or went after the truth. Either way, we would need to confront whatever darkness awaited us. With the resolve settling deep in my chest, I locked eyes with Marcy. Let us go. Now. And before we made our way out of the bushes, a flicker of movement caught my eye. A shadow darted behind a tree. Was it a friend? Or something more sinister? Was this the chance we were waiting for? Or a trap waiting to ensnare us? With dread gnawing at my insides, I stepped toward the silhouette, unsure if this would lead to salvation or destruction. I hesitated, each beat of my heart thudding like a warning bell. The shadow behind the tree didn't look friendly, yet curiosity clawed at me. I eased forward, careful not to make a sound, straining my ears for any hint of a plan forming. Wait! Marcy grabbed my arm, her voice a whisper full of urgency. What if it's one of them? I shook her hand off gently, keeping my gaze fixed on the unknown figure. We have to see. If it's Timmy, my words hung in the air, heavy with desperation. The silhouette shifted, stepping into a patch of moonlight. My breath caught. It was a boy, not much older than us, his clothes ragged and his features smeared with dirt and worry. Help me, he called, his voice hoarse yet unmistakably familiar. Timmy, I shouted before I could stop myself. Joy surged through me, but it was quickly drowned by the memory of those looming threats. Stay quiet, Marcy hissed, pulling me back just as the boy darted closer, urgency trailing him like a shadow. Look behind him. My heart dropped. As Timmy neared, he was followed by another figure bigger and darker, stalking with predatory grace. The stranger's eyes glimmered like a cat's, eager for the hunt. Timmy, run! I yelled, panic clawing through me, but before the words fully left my lips, he was caught. The larger figure grasped him by the arm, yanking him back, turning towards us with malicious glee. Now there are more of you little rats to catch, he sneered, his voice a chilling mix of mockery and menace. Timmy! My voice broke as I realized our hope was crumbling. Marcy's eyes widened, and her pulse pounded loudly in the silence. What do we do? Distract him! I shouted, heart racing. I snatched the wrench from my pocket and hurled it into the darkness to the right. The metallic clang echoed loudly, drawing the stranger's attention. He turned, eyes narrowing as he darted after the sound. Foolish kids. Let us go. I pulled Marcy and we bolted toward the tree, weaving through clutching branches and thick foliage. Each step felt electrifying and dangerous, propelling us deeper into the choking shadows. But Timmy was in peril. And as much as I wanted safety, he wasn't free yet. We couldn't leave him behind. Suddenly the night erupted with chaotic noises. Growls, cracks, and incoherent yells filled the air. A tangled web of confusion and fear. Over here. Timmy's voice sliced through the chaos, desperate and frightened. He was trying to draw the stranger away. Instinct kicked in. We needed to create a distraction, a chance. Marcy, you go low. I'll climb above. The plan burst out as I remembered the low-hanging branches. I sprinted toward the tree, hoping Marcy would follow. What are you doing? She gasped, but I was already scrambling, finding footing among the boughs, pulling myself higher to get a better view from my perch. I could see Timmy struggling against the stranger's grip. He was terrified but determined. Let me go, he cried, summoning every ounce of defiance. The stranger snarled back, shoving Timmy hard. My stomach twisted as the boy stumbled. The fear in his eyes fueled my adrenaline. I had to save him and our chance was running thin. Timmy, fight back! I shouted, hoping my words could reach him. Marcy was at the base of the tree now, trembling but resolute. She reached into her backpack, pulling out a small slingshot. I'll create a safe opening. I watched as she quickly loaded a pebble and aimed. Time slowed as she let it fly. The stone struck the stranger squarely between the eyes, making him stumble back, dazed. Now, I hoped it would be enough as I leaped down from the tree, Feeling the rush of faith and terror intertwined, we rushed towards Timmy as he regained his footing, adrenaline coursing. We were ready to be his shield, ready to confront whatever darkness awaited us. But as we reached for him, he stopped short, eyes widening in horror. "No, behind you." I swung around, and what I saw twisted my heart with dread. Another figure had appeared. One I recognized, the true mastermind behind all this. Mr. Jensen, did you really think you could escape? He chuckled, darkness spilling from his smile as the branches loomed over us, trapping us in. I felt the ground shift beneath me again, and my heart sank. What had we poured ourselves into? "Now you will pay the price for meddling," he roared, and his voice echoed like a haunting promise. How were we going to survive? My mind raced for an answer as I stared into the face of our nightmare. And just as I thought all hope was lost, a strange sound filled the air, the unmistakable hum of machinery. What was happening behind the curtain of darkness? What had we awakened? Panic surged through my veins as I caught Mr. Jensen's gaze. Fear curled tightly in my chest, and I realized it wasn't just the danger of his presence that made me shudder. There was something deeper, something sinister in the way he looked at us, a buried truth ready to claw its way into the open. The hum grew louder, a metallic whirring that echoed eerily through the clearing. Was it a machine? Did he have an accomplice lurking nearby? I felt the world spin for a second as I wrestled with my thoughts. We couldn't stay here. "Timmy," I shouted, grabbing his arm with urgency. "We need to move." The moment hung like thick fog, still and heavy, as Jensen took a step closer, a predatory smile creeping across his lips. "Where do you think you're going? You've all been so curious, so eager to play my little game." Marcy's grip on the slingshot tightened. "This ain't a game, Jensen." The defiance in her voice ignited a flicker of hope within me. We had to stand our ground, not just for ourselves but for Timmy too. But it is," he replied, his tone dripping with mockery. "And you've just joined the show. Welcome, welcome." I felt a surge of courage mingling with the electrical dread buzzing beneath my skin. "Show?" I spat back. "You think you can frighten us? We're not afraid of you." In that moment, the whirring noise reached its peak, vibrating through the soil underfoot. It felt like the very earth was tremoring beneath Jensen's imposing figure. Then out of the shadows behind him, a gleaming robotic creature emerged, its body cold and shiny, with bright red eyes glowing like beacons of malice. It had limbs that bent in unsettling angles and a menacing snarl carved on its featureless face that I barely had time to process that horror before Jensen waved a hand, signaling the machine to advance. "My creations are designed for children like you. Little pests, perfect for living experiments. Run!" I yelled, yanking Timmy and Marcy as fear propelled us into motion. We darted to the side, weaving around the tree bulk, not looking back as the metal beast screeched behind us. Each thud of its heavy steps echoed like a countdown we didn't want to finish. "Where are we going?" Marcy gasped, desperation lacing her words. "Anywhere but here," I replied, adrenaline sharpening my senses. The whispers of leaves rustled behind us, punctuated by Jensen's sinister laughter. We crashed further into the tangled thicket, my heart racing, each breath heavy with the scent of damp earth and pine needles. "Timmy," I checked back, feeling a sudden weight in my gut. "Stay close." Timmy nodded, but I could see his eyes filled with a mix of fear and determination. If we were going to get through this, we needed a plan, not just running blindly. My thoughts raced, piecing together the last moments before chaos fell. "We have to find a way to disable that thing," I said, panting as we veered deeper into the shadows. "What kind of machines did he have?" "He mentioned something about kids," Timmy stammered, the clarity forming in his voice. "His new project. It was supposed to be a secret, a robotic army or something like that." Marcy's eyes lit with recognition. "That's why we keep disappearing. We need to find its power source. If we can disable it, we can fight back." "But where?" Timmy said, panic creeping back. "What if he's already shut them down?" I halted, the idea forming in my mind. Peter Escarod. We had to get to the old shed on our block. It always smelled of grease and rust, and Peter would tinker with old parts. If there was a chance of weapons, it had to be there. "Over there." I pointed toward a slight gap in the foliage, where the moonlight flickered faintly through. "That leads toward our neighborhood." As we dashed toward the light, heartbeats synchronized in frantic rhythm, I heard the machine roar behind us, picking up speed. We stumbled through the underbrush, limbs scraping against the relentless thorns while the shadows loomed closer. Time was running out, we had to reach safety. Don't look back, I warned as I pushed through the final branches, emerging into the open clearing, where Peter's garage stood. But was it truly a safe haven? Or was it another trap set by Jensen? We couldn't shake the feeling that danger lingered like a thick fog, ready to envelop us at a moment's notice. Would we make it to the garage and find the help we so desperately needed? Or would the darkness of Jensen's twisted game consume us all? The garage loomed ahead, its wooden frame creaking in the breeze, a relic of days when childhood dreams merely required imagination. Now it felt like a fortress or a coffin. I hesitated at the door, my breath ragged as the screeching metal beast neared, its glowing eyes hungry for us. Quick! Inside! I yelled, pushing the door ajar with trembling hands. It opened with a groan, revealing a dim interior filled with the scents of oil and rust, memories layered in dust. Timmy hesitated, glancing behind us. What if it's a trap? He whispered, his voice trembling. Do you have a better idea? I shot back, urgency driving my words. We rushed inside, slamming the door shut just as the creature's shadow fell across the cracked glass window. The three of us huddled in a corner, hearts pounding, listening to the metallic clang of the machine testing the door. My eyes darted around the cluttered space, searching. There had to be something useful, anything to give us an edge against Jensen and his monstrous creation. Peter always had tools lying around, I murmured, scanning the workbench. A half-broken drill sat next to a pile of rusted screws. There. A hammer. I grabbed it, the cold metal reassuring in my grip, but what good would it do against something alive? It felt like a joke, the children tasked with the fight, armed with only childish tools. As the metallic beast thudded against the door, rattling the wood, Marcy's eyes caught a glint from a corner, a small box buried under a tarp. That. What's that? She pointed. I didn't waste time. Help me. We lifted the tarp, revealing a tangle of wires and a miniature power cell, a remnant from the robotics club last summer. This could be it. If we can rig it up, it might disrupt the robot. Timmy's eyes brightened in a moment of clarity. If we can redirect its energy source, it should malfunction. I nodded vigorously. Let us do it. We hurriedly gathered materials, breaking apart old toys and gadgets, forming a makeshift bomb. Every second felt like it pulled us closer to doom, the creature growing impatient outside, rattling the door more violently, with doomsday looming just beyond. Here! Marcy yelled, holding out her slingshot. We could use this to launch the power cell if need be. I took the slingshot, heart racing. You're a genius. Timmy turned to check the door again, his legs shaking. We have to get out and set our trap quickly. Without answering, I cracked the door open slightly, peering into the night. The machine stood menacingly, illuminated by a sliver of moonlight, its glowing eyes trained on us like a predator. Jensen's laugh echoed through the silence, sending chills racing down my spine. Are you scared yet? He taunted, his voice curling around us like smoke. The tension made the air feel electric, each heartbeat thunderous in my ears. Now! I shouted, swinging the door wide. We dashed toward the creature, bringing the slingshot back. Get clear! I yelled at Marcy and Timmy as I aimed, feeling the adrenaline charge through me. 1, 2, 3. I released the slingshot, sending the power cell hurtling towards the robot. It struck, igniting with a burst of energy, and the machine jolted violently. Sparks flew, its eyes flickered. But just before the machine could collapse, a burst of shadow emerged from the darkness, colliding with us. The impact knocked me back, confusion overtaking my thoughts. Struggling to stand, my heart dropped. A second machine appeared, twisting its limbs unnaturally, standing tall behind us. No! Panic surged once more as I faced Jensen, his malicious grin framing a chilling conclusion. You've really underestimated the game. Desperation clawed at me, but it was too late to turn back now. Let us see how well you play against this. He sneered, gesturing to the newly revealed monstrosity. In this chaotic moment, hope began to flicker like a dying light. Would we be able to fight back? As the shadows thickened, I felt our chances slipping. But then, a mysterious crackle erupted from the failing beast. What had I just unleashed? My heartbeat quickened. The real question echoed in my mind. Was this our salvation or our doom? The crackle pulsed through the chilled air like an electric current, vibrating inside my chest. I glanced back at the flickering machine, unsure of what it meant. A part of me wanted to believe it could turn against its master, but was that just wishful thinking? Focus! I shouted, struggling to keep my voice steady. Timmy, Marcy, we need a plan. While sparks danced around us, Timmy's eyes darted nervously from one machine to the other. What if we, work together on the second one? Maybe they're linked somehow? My thoughts raced. There must be a way to shut them both down, I muttered, locking onto the messy tools left at the workbench. Desperate for a solution, Jensen's laughter echoed in the distance, an eerie reminder that we weren't just fighting machines, we were up against something far more twisted. You really think you can escape that easily? He taunted. The words hung ominously in the air. Marcy stepped forward, her fists clenched with determination. What's the worst that can happen? We already face certain death. Her bravery held my thoughts captive for a heartbeat. The second machine loomed larger, its mechanical joints whining in protest, a palpable warning of the imminent threat. Together we can do this, I said, steeling my resolve. The urgency of the moment coursed through me. Grab what you can. We'll create a distraction. As Marcy snatched a rusted pipe and Timmy pulled at the workbench to free a wrench, I peeked through a gap in the garage door. The first machine damaged, but still a beast slowly regained its feet, its glowing eyes now spitting sparks. It was still mobile, anger swirling behind its furious glare. Now! I shouted, and we rushed at the first machine, swinging our makeshift weapons. The impact rang out in the confined space. The sound of metal clashing against metal reverberated like a war drum, each strike dousing us in adrenaline-fueled courage. The first machine staggered back, its optics flickering wildly. This was our chance. We had to force it into the fray of the second machine, a gamble desperate as the stakes we faced. Timmy darted to the side, trying to lure the monster towards the door. Hey! Over here! He yelled, waving a length of wire as if it were bait. The machine turned, its heavy feet pounding toward him. Marcy and I moved quickly, preparing our ambush. I glanced at her, urgency igniting a spark of instinct. Now! We charged, smashing our weapons towards the base of the first machine. It screeched a torturous sound filled with malice and faltered again, leading it toward the corner where the second machine awaited, limbs twitching with a predatory hunger. Just a little more. I urged, backing up. The machines were locked in a nefarious dance, and we needed them closer, fighting amongst themselves, two monsters turning against each other. But Jensen wasn't finished with us. You think this little act is enough? I've got plans for each of you. Before we could react, glowing eyes lit the dark night beyond the garage door. Shadows moved, a thrumming pulse drawing closer. A parade of monstrous silhouettes, companions to the machines, loomed on the horizon. Fear gripped my heart. This wasn't just a game anymore. Sensing something dreadful, I turned to my friends, breathing hard. What do we do now? We need to escape. Just then, another pulse erupted from the dying machine. A surge of energy flowed into the air, illuminating the darkness around us. And then I heard it, a voice whispering amidst the chaos. Help is coming. Was I hearing things? Or was this the final trick of Jensen? Get down! I shouted, unsure if it was friend or foe. With an explosion of light, a shockwave coursed through the garage, knocking us off our feet. As I landed hard on the ground, the air crackled with an unholy energy. What had just happened? And that insistent whisper was salvation on the way. Or was it just the very beginning of an unstoppable nightmare? The world spun as the shockwave reverberated through me. I lay there momentarily stunned, but urgency pulled me to my feet. Get up. We can't waste time. I urged, looking for Timmy and Marcy. They were both groggy but alert, eyes wide with confusion and fear. What was that? Marcy gasped, brushing dust off her arms. I don't know, but we're still not safe, I replied, glancing out the garage door. There was still chaos outside. The dull thrum of machines meshing into the panicked whispers of Jensen's looming shadows. Help is coming. The words echoed in my mind. Could it be true? We had to act fast. Listen to me, I said, heart pounding. We need to find a way to disable both machines before help gets here. Or they'll destroy everything. Where do we even start? Timmy breathed, his courage faltering just a hint at the enormity of what we faced. Look, Marcy pointed toward the back of the garage. There might be more tools or old gadgets. Let us check there. We moved quickly and began rifling through the clutter, tossing aside broken parts and rusted machinery. Time was slipping through our fingers like sand in an hourglass. And then, a glimmer caught my eye. It was a small control panel, caked in dust but still intact. Look, if we can access this, maybe we can reset the machines. Timmy knelt beside me, flipping open the lid. What if we can overload them? Make them malfunction, send them back to Jensen? That's exactly what we need to do, I exclaimed, feeling a surge of hope. I started flipping switches and the panel lit up, displaying a series of codes. Is it easy to use? Marcy asked, her voice trembling. Not easy, but we don't have time, I replied, biting my lip as I read through the instructions. We'll have to operate this manually. Just follow my lead. Outside, the sound of machines clashing echoed through the air. I could hear Jensen's taunts mixed with the rumble of metal grinding against metal. Let us hurry, Marcy urged as I worked through the control panel, sweat beading on my forehead. After what felt like hours, I entered the last command. The panel beeped and a countdown timer began. 10 seconds until the overload, I blurted. We need to create a diversion. We rushed outside in a half-crouch, still poisoned by fear. But the urge to fight burned hotter than ever. From the corner of my eye, I could see one of the machines still standing, enormous with harsh flickers of red light. Hey! Timmy shouted, waving his arms. Over here. One of the machines turned, its glowing eyes locking onto us like a predatory animal. It charged forward, slowing just enough for a moment, and chaos ensued. Go, go! I yelled, heart racing. We darted toward the other end of the yard, diving behind an old pile of scrap metal as the machine whirred closer. 3 seconds. I yelled, adrenaline surging as the countdown blared behind us. With one final push, I hurled one of the tools from the garage, creating a loud clatter. The machine hesitated, its sensors recalibrating, and in that instant jump, we leaped away from the pile as the countdown hit 0. A blinding flash erupting behind us. This is it, I yelled, shrouded by a haze of light and sound. The explosion sent shockwaves rippling through the ground. I felt the surge of force knock me down, the blast throwing us back. The world spun again. Then nothing. Silence descended upon the night, wrapping around us like a warm blanket. I slowly blinked, trying to clear the haze from my vision. I turned to see Marcy sprawled nearby, coughing but unharmed. Timmy sat up, dazed but alive. We pushed ourselves up, looking toward the smoking wreckage of the machines. Fragile light flickered, then sputtered into darkness, a body finally at rest. Did it work? I whispered, almost afraid to believe any of it. If in response, a police siren wailed faintly in the distance, slicing through the stillness. Hope bloomed more than before. We rushed toward the entrance of the garage, just as the familiar outline of our neighborhood's sheriff car parked down the lane. Relief washed through me, but deep inside, shadows still remained unanswered. Then I spotted him. Jensen. He was standing motionless at the perimeter of the woods, his expression twisted in fury and disbelief. You haven't T1, he growled. This isn't over. But somehow, despite his words, I felt newly fortified. We hit back. Not just for ourselves but for Timmy's sake. I watched as Sheriff Cartwright approached and apprehended the man that had haunted our lives, his grip around Jensen's shoulders strong and unyielding. We did it, Marcy whispered with awe, her hand grasping my arm. Together I nodded, tears of relief spilling down my cheeks. As the sheriff escorted Jensen away, the weight of darkness I had carried began to lift. We were free, but there were still questions gnawing away at the edges of my mind. Timmy, I said softly, knowing we had much to discuss. Yeah, he replied, looking up with those innocent eyes I had almost lost. There's still so much we need to figure out. We need to stay vigilant. We have to trust one another always. His face hardened with understanding. We will. Leaning in toward my friends, I felt our resolve solidifying in the quiet aftermath. We stood together, the threat behind us and friendship forged in the fire of terror, knowing the fight had only just begun. Let us go home, I said, leading the way with a sense of purpose. And so we walked side by side as the first rays of dawn broke above the horizon, hopeful yet wary, ready to face whatever else the world might throw our way. If one thing was clear, it was this. We were not just survivors, we were warriors. And this would be our story to tell together. Now you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Show your support, you're a true fan if you do.